Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shah, Shema Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles of great millstone. And salute to the Akim out there that's pushing this truth in all sincerity. Shalom. And even unto those that's learning and listening and growing thereby as we bring these videos out, as we do for the edification. Alright, and it's the brother Modka come. And the title of this video is going to be called Ye Rich Men, Weep and Howl for Your Miseries That Shall Come Upon You. And to be exact, this is referring to a group of people within the so-called white race, which are indeed the biblical Edomites that the Bible speaks about. Okay, because this is a race of people that have an elite group within them that control the trends that go on through the media, and that control the money, that have all the power, so much so that they can even give power unto certain men and make them become prime ministers and kings. All right, so we have to deal with the race of people that's ruling right now. And as because of why they're ruling, because of this elite group of people within their race. So this is talking about them. So let's read James 5 verse 1. We're going to stop in the first verse. It says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupt, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you. And the rest is talking about the wickedness. And being that the fact that they are rich in the first place is due to the wickedness that they have done. And that's why they're in power today. You know, they're experiencing a life of luxury today because of slavery. All right. And that's the main thing that I really want to deal with shortly. And then I'm going to move on with this video here. Because when you look at Great Britain and you look at these great empires, which, you know, we're in a great empire as a whole, but I'm talking about these countries, I'm talking about these countries that are economically superior, and that would then involve certain countries of Europe and also a country that's within the Americas, which is North America to be exact. And these places have become great, and people have become rich through their ancestors due to the slave trade. Okay, and a while ago, Britain has apologized for being crucial or being first or ahead in terms of them getting involved in the slave trade. All right, but apology is not going to cut it, because judgment is still going down and towards the people that have also enslaved our people. According to the book of Revelations 13, 9 and 10, it says, He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So there's no apology that can stop that judgment from coming down, because you've already done the work and you've already benefited of putting us into slavery and doing it wrongfully. So therefore, that's the judgment that they're going to have to deal with. And that's just the thing about that. Even if, let's just say, these Edomites that have gotten a lot of money from the slave trade and have benefited so, and they give it up, it's still not going to cut it. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to read James 5 verse 3 verse again. It says, Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. And that's the reason as to why, like I said a while ago, as I'm going to say again, this is why Britain felt like they had to apologize for slavery, because when you actually go back to the 1700s concerning the slave trade, because it lasted for, I believe, 200 years, right? Because, I mean, you had another slave trade that was in the midst even around the 1400s. But you had the second slave trade, which was the main one, which Great Britain got involved in that. and certain other European countries got involved in that. All right, and millions of people were transported from one place to another place. And this was the big major slave trade, which took place within that time period, from the 17th century all the way up to the 19th century. And people became powerful and rich because of this mega slave trade. And this is why you have countries such as Great Britain and the likes that have apologized for taking part of this thing called the slave trade, because it's actually got them looking really bad, man. And it's got them feeling some kind of way. So this is why it says this. I'm going to read this again. Your gold and your silver is cankered, and the rest of them, the wickedness of them, shall be a witness against you. Okay? As I've explained. And shall eat your flesh as it were fire. And ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. They have access to diamonds, gemstones, gold, silver, tungsten, you name it. The resources that actually can make a man rich. They have all of these things. And they're going to lose it all together. And I'm going to get that in the book of Job 20 verse 18, I believe it is. Let's get that in the book of Job 20 verse 18. I believe it's 20 verse 18. Yeah, it's verse 15 actually. So it says, he have swallowed down riches, he shall vomit them up again, and the Most High shall cast them out of his belly. So they're going to lose all of that, which is what they have, which has got them sitting high and pretty in the first place. So let's read verse 4 in James 5. It says, behold, the highest of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, riches of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. So the men and the women that are in this truth, which make up, which are part of the nation of Israel, that have awakened to the truth, those that have been robbed and spoiled are now crying into the ears of the Lord, and the Lord is hearing our complaint, okay, and being considerate of what we're saying within our cry. And we are of that nation which was robbed and spoiled, because when we were actually metaphorically, as the scripture says, reaping down their fields, slaving and working to make them who they are today, they were getting a lot of money off that. They were becoming rich and they were becoming powerful. And they didn't even give us exactly what was deserved. They didn't give us the money or our wages of building them up or doing the work that they needed us to do. All right? And that's why you have men that are walking around that are trillionaires. You got men that are walking around that are worth hundreds of billions, because all of that goes back to the transatlantic slave trade and also of owning slaves. Those that ancestors that have owned slaves. And this is why, like I said, you have these men that are walking around with a large amount of wealth that are severely fortunate today because of the slave trade. But at the same time, people will say, well, you got to forget about the slave trade. But the slave trade is the reason as to why you have countries such as Great Britain and America and other European nations that are very great today because of simply the slave trade. So if your society was built on the slave trade, it's not a good look. And especially if it's a city that was built by blood, because we have to involve, I have to say blood too, because a lot of blood was spilled. People's lives were taken away due to this thing called the slave trade. All right? And it was the severe downfall of us, and the people that have suffered so greatly were the people of the Most High, which is the so-called Negro, the so-called Latinos and Native American Indians. We make up the children of the Most High. So when you steal a nation such as that, and you force them to build your city up, and you shed blood by doing such a thing, there's going to have to be a divine comeback so that the people that have suffered greatly can receive justice, and those that have benefited greatly can receive judgment, because what was done based on the slave trade, the whole thing was wrong. All right, the whole slave trade was unjust, and all Jake was doing was building a society that was never set up for them, an unjust society. They built it up for the rich, and that's exactly what occurred. And we have not benefited of the society, but that's okay, because a part of that was for us to experience the curses in Deuteronomy 28 and beyond. Okay, because of our wrongdoings, our forefathers, we didn't go according to the rule that the Heavenly Father has set before us by keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments. So we had to fall and we had to go through that. But that does not mean that Esau is going to get up scot-free and ride all the way into the sunset and everything's hunky-dory and everything's smoothed out. No. Okay, there's going to be a recompense due to all of this nastiness that has been done. So let me continue on with the book of James, the 5th chapter. Let's read verse 4 again. It says, "Behold, the hires of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth." And when we do these videos, we're actually crying unto the Lord. When we go out there in the highways and the byways, we're actually crying unto the Lord, and the Lord is hearing our cries. Like, you got brothers that will make videos about how corrupt this world is and how this world is built on oppression. You know, you got brothers that will make videos about the wrongdoings of what Esau did. Even if brothers are praying, those prayers are entering into the ears of the Lord, and the Lord is taking account of those prayers. So indeed, somehow, some way, eventually, the rich men, they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to experience a judgment that they cannot put off, even if they were to give or return the money that they've stolen, that they've robbed from us, or they have apologized. That's not going to cut it. Verse 5, "You have lived in pleasure on the earth, and being wanton, and ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just," which the just is talking about the Israelites, "and he doeth not resist you. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth," which the precious fruit of the earth is talking about the remnant that return back unto the Lord within Israel, "and have long patience for it until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient and establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh." And that's all we have to do. All we got to do is be patient and suffer this thing and wait unto the Lord. Because when the Lord makes a second return, as we read in the book of Isaiah, the 63rd chapter, where it says that he cometh as from, what is it, a man from Basra with dyed garments, which is Yahweh Shah. What is he going to do? He's going to destroy this system. He's going to destroy the same society that we built it up, that we were forced to build up in the first place. A society that was constructed for our own downfall is going to be destroyed by him. So all we got to do is wait for that. You know, there's no need to try to get carnal with these individuals that are in power, these devils. There's no need for that, because we're not strong enough to fight these devils. They have a lot of power, which the Lord has given them, and the Lord is going to take that power which he has given them away. So let's read Proverbs 18, verse 11. It says, "The rich man's wealth is in his strong city." And you have cities that are strong today. You have Great Britain. Great Britain is considered a strong city. It's becoming weak now. It's not as strong as it used to be. And also America. America is a strong city. But these two particular countries are highly superior today. All right? So that's why I named them two countries. And let's read on. "And as at high wall in his own conceit." So the rich man's wealth is in his strong city. So who made these strong cities become strong in the first place? We did. We put the power behind these cities. And they're going to lose all of that. What's going to happen is that Esau is going to have to connect the dots. And what I mean by they're going to have to connect these dots, they know what we're saying is the truth, but there's a part of them that wants to believe that what we're saying is nonsense. And also, they're seeing strange signs and wonders that's happening on this earth and also in the heavens. And they have to connect those dots, and they have to come to the conclusion or accept that we are the prophets of the Lord. We are the children of the Most High. And the angels of the Most High are there to indicate or to show them that they're going downhill. And we're telling them about these things and what these things are as we do these sit downs. All right? Because see, Esau, whether they are willfully trying to convince themselves that we're just niggas and we don't know anything and we don't know what we're talking about or whatever the case may be to make themselves feel good or so that they can sleep good at night, it really doesn't make a difference. What they're going to have to do is accept what we're saying is the truth and just be done with it, man, and do what they got to do. And what I mean by do what they got to do, I'm saying that they may have to just come down and try to pursue the prophets. And this is something that they're going to do anyway, whether they by dragging their feet or being diplomatic and finding ways to come against us, but eventually they're going to make that move anyway. Whether they want to go abroad and forcefully make that move or they want to be diplomatic about it, they're going to have to make that move. All right? And the scripture that I want to read here is Luke 21, verse 20. It says, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." Exactly, because that's what's going to happen. Now, this is an incident that occurred 2,000 something odd years ago. And this is talking about 70 AD when the Romans put an end to the Jewish state, which is what you can read in the Babylon Timbuktu book. And then what happened was the Israelites that were out of the city, they went and departed, as it says in Luke 21:21. "Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto." Okay, so you had Israelites that went out of Judea and fled into these different areas, these different lands, and they dwelt in these lands for a long period of time. All right, but this same situation is going to happen then again because everything is reincarnated. Remember, we're in a revival version of Rome, so the same things that happened in ancient Rome is going to happen in this Rome. Okay, in ancient Rome, you had many wars. In this Roman Empire, you had ongoing wars. America's been in war 200 plus times. In the span of the 200 plus years, they've actually set themselves up as the Illuminati Brotherhood. Because when you actually do the research, before the 1770s, there was no wars. There weren't really no major wars that were fought. But when Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati Brotherhood established themselves in 1776, I believe, May the 5th, 1776, a year later, that's when you had the first American Revolutionary War. And you had ongoing wars after that, which you can do a little research on that. So as it was in ancient Rome you had many wars, and also in this Roman Empire, you have ongoing wars to this very moment in time. And now America in the Western world is at war with the East. All right? So dealing with the whole 70 AD incident that occurred back then, that same similar incident is going to take place in this time. The only difference is that the 2/3 of Israel, they're not going to know where to flee because they're going to be trapped in the cities because martial law is going to be declared. So let's continue on. So it says, verse 22, "For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled." Exactly, because when Esau declares war against the children of Israel, that's the intel of the day of the Lord. And within the day of the Lord, which one of the things that are going to come in the day of the Lord, and in the day of the Lord, as it is called the day of the Lord, he's going to enter therein and destroy the system, destroy the society, and deliver the elect out of the wrath of Esau. Let's get Revelations 12, verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And this is what it's going to get down to. When they connect those dots and they see what we're saying, and they take into consideration what we're saying, and they see exactly the signs and wonders in heaven, they're going to have to do what they got to do. All right? But as they are going to do what they got to do, it's going to lead to their downfall. That's as far as it goes. And that's pretty much all I have for this video. So with that, brothers, Lord willing, hopefully you were edified. And I want to close this video out, giving all praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'al Shem Yahweh Shai. And I say shalom, I'm out.